I think that there's a lot of times a business owner will come to and wanting to sell, and it's a private decision or a personal for personal reasons, and there's they want to almost go through the process and not rock the boat by I think if staff find out or people find out, then it sort of it often it may create issues in house, or just at worst, I guess, or sort of at best it just takes people's eyes off the ball a little bit. So I think that we're very mindful, I guess, with when you're sort of dealing with an owner, that a lot of the work sort of needs to be done. It's really, in a lot of cases, it can be that it may not even go up online. We've got some cases where it's a purely very targeted expression of interest campaign. We don't say the company name. Very, very broad brush approach in terms of and that can be tailored again. So there's really no way of someone anyone sort of finding out that this a business is for sale. And
Yeah, under the radar. So that's keeping a business transaction sort of confidential until it sort of needs to be released that the business is sold. So under the radar is about making sure the confidentiality aspect of that business is retained. No one really knows the business is for sale, because you might do an off-market transaction. And what that means is you already know who the buyer is going to be for that client. You approach that buyer and you keep everything confidential until there's a contract in place, and the contract basically goes unconditional. So yeah, it's just about keeping it quiet. So you don't disrupt the business, you don't disrupt staff, you don't disrupt suppliers, customers, anything like that. That's what it primarily means.
It's very understandable with clients where they want to sell their business or divest, of their shares in this asset, but they do need to keep it confidential because of commercial reasons, staffing reasons, that sort of stuff. So it's a real balance, isn't it? Because, like as the saying goes, you can't sell a secret. Well, you kind of can, actually, if you just got to have the tools and the setup to be able to do it, which is what we've built at Fin M&A. So how it's done is, obviously, we're building our target list of who we're going to contact. We're not advertising these businesses all over the internet and saying, such and such manufacturing business for sale. That's not how it's done. A lot of it is building a target list of who might be interested. We then reach out. So nothing's in the public domain. So we're reaching out direct to those people. When we're reaching out direct, it's quite a soft introduction, and we're saying, look, I understand you're in this industry. We've got a client who's in a similar industry, and our thoughts are that, if you're looking to grow, or you're on the acquisition trail, that you might want to have a look at it to see if it might sort of fit you as an acquisition. Would you be interested? And we don't tell them the name of the business. We might just give them a few bullet points sort of about it. So it's enough to sort of whet their appetite. They'll respond back to us, and then they'll, of course, want to know more. So what we do is, it's a balance between letting them know more, but also assessing where they're at in terms of their motivation. Are they actually what that people call a serious buyer? Do they actually have the appetite to actually make a purchase, and do they have the funding available to be able to make a purchase? But before, obviously, all that's done, they're completing a non-disclosure agreement, which is really simple to complete. It's just online. But that protects our client then and ensures them. That's the first hurdle, because often if they don't want to complete that, well, that tells us straight away that, maybe they've got the wrong intentions, or maybe they just like, oh, actually, no, I just kind of thought I wanted to just find out a bit about it, but really I'm not going to buy it anyway. So we put these little hurdles in place for them, and then give them tiny bits of information just at the start, get maybe 2 or 3 steps down the road. And then if they're still alive there and still interested, and they're communicating with us, and we've made the assessment that we think that A, they've got the intent to be able to make an acquisition. B, we think it's a good fit for them, and it's going to work well for them in their business strategically, which adds to their motivation. And then C, that they've probably most likely got the funding capacity to be able to buy that business. Now we'll release a lot more information and engage a lot more with them in the process. And they are what we would call a red hot buyer.